What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Fringe. Some good news when it comes to the Alberta Prosperity Front, when it comes to independence within Alberta. One of my biggest concerns, one of my largest concerns moving forward, was going to be what happens after this by-election that's coming up in June if it triggers a provincial election. If for some reason non-confidence was put forward on Danielle Smith as talks of independence move forward. Keep in mind that there's a reason I've said from the beginning, we talked about it in yesterday's video, that Danielle Smith is essentially playing the shell game. She's getting Canada to watch the ball under the cup while she's doing the distraction with the other hand by promoting Alberta's sovereignty without having to verbally promote it. What I mean by that, and what I want to make very clear, for anybody who thinks that Danielle Smith is trying to work within the Canadian government, that she's actually trying to keep things together in terms of prominent deals and unification within Canada, I do think there's a certain degree to which Danielle would be interested in doing so. If a better deal could be constructed by Alberta, of course, Alberta would stay in Confederation. Alberta would love to share its profits with the rest of the country. However, we all know, based on polling in Saskatchewan, based on polling in Alberta, based on even your reactions on this channel, that's not going to be possible. Mark Carney, other provinces have made it clear. They all came to the table. They all made it look like it was going to work, that they were prepared to sit down and talk about realistic solutions to Canada's problems, when in fact it was nothing more than smoke and mirrors. It was just there to make everybody look good and get photo ops and talk about cigars with Doug Ford, just to go back to their provinces and say, yeah, no, we're not going to do anything with Alberta. David Eby has said we're not moving pipelines through the Northern Gateway. Quebec has said we're not building socially unacceptable pipelines. Mark Carney has said, I won't build a pipeline unless anybody's on board. Pipelines aside, nothing will be done to benefit Alberta. And the longer that drags out, I said in yesterday's video, keep it coming, because it just further promotes Alberta independence. It pushes those who were on the fence to decide what's best for Alberta, what they feel is best moving forward. It just strengthens the vote for Alberta sovereignty. Now, with that being said, make sure to join me Monday. I'll be in Red Deer live Monday evening. I'll be live streaming the Alberta Prosperity Project's town hall. Hopefully some questions get answered. I will be having Alberta Prosperity Project on the channel shortly. I'd like to do 2 different interviews. One where we sit down and talk about essentially what the purpose of Alberta Prosperity Project is, maybe some questions that I have for them. And I would like to conduct a second interview and essentially be the unofficial spokesperson for Alberta Prosperity by having them back on the channel, possibly during a live stream, so that you, the Albertans, Canadians, can come in, ask questions of Alberta Prosperity, any questions or concerns you might have. Hopefully we get those answered, and it maybe helps in terms of educating Albertans as to what is on the horizon for Alberta, what's coming. All that build-up, folks, aside, and I apologize if it's rambling, but this paints a picture for where Alberta's moving in the future. If Danielle Smith were to back Alberta independence, if she were to say, nope, we're separating, that's it, I'm sold on it, we're not going to be able to work with Canada, immediately those in Alberta, which is roughly 50% right now, would flip on Danielle and things would look very prominent for the NDP. Many people have said never again NDP, it's not going to happen. I'm happy to report today it looks like that is the case, as Nahid Nenshi, or Nenshit, as I call him on this channel, is under fire from his own party. This guy is the definition of a narcissist. He's been labeled by the World Economic Forum as one of the globalist leaders going as back far as 2011. This guy spells danger for Canada. He spells absolute decimation in Alberta. But it looks like not only if an election were held today, would he very graciously fail at winning a seat or a majority, but he may not win his seat in this by-election. There's rumblings coming within the NDP that even though he's running in a very prominent NDP riding, he does not have a good outlook for the party. And we all knew this would happen. We all knew this would happen because Nenshi has one flaw that gets discussed in this article. I want to go through it with you guys to just let you know that I think my fears, at least in the upcoming future, We'll see what happens after a by-election. But this tells me that should Danielle ever say, okay, we gave our 6 months to the government, nothing came forward. Think about the G7. What happens if Donald Trump comes to Canada and recognizes Alberta as an independent nation? Canada wouldn't take that seriously. We all know that. In fact, Canada may react to Trump by imposing more tariffs, more more penalties on the United States because they're mad, they're angry, Team Canada elbows up. But all that would do is fuel more independence in Alberta. People are fed up with their government. Let's take a look at what's going on with Nenshi here. Because if you guys wanted a little good news on a Friday, this just, I almost want to take a shot of whiskey and celebrate. You really know there's a problem when you're the leader of the opposition party and the governing party is taking pot shots at you. That's the deep doo-doo that Naheed Nenshi, former mayor of Calgary and current Alberta NDP leader, now finds himself in. Yes, here was Premier Danielle Smith's UCP rolling out a release on Thursday. The call is coming from inside the House. Nenshi faces internal backlash as the NDP craters, it read, as you can almost hear the glee. The cracks in Naheed Nenshi's leadership are widening, and now even longtime NDP allies are sounding the alarm. This is how you know trouble's coming. And again, he's running in a very long-term held NDP riding. The thing about Edmonton and its NDP ridings, and a lot of people say, hey, look, I live in Edmonton, I don't vote NDP. Anybody who lives in Edmonton understands. There's a lot of healthcare workers up here. There's a lot of teachers, union workers that are within QP. We know QP has their talons deeply sunk into the NDP via Rachel Notley's husband. The influence is overwhelming when it comes to how the votes are stricken. There's a lot of people who believe in the union type rhetoric as well, and the social justice warriors who vote in favor of woke policies. But this could be the beginning of the end for the NDP if Nenshi takes the leadership. And I do believe he will still win the leadership, even though these rumblings are in here, which is good news apparently for Albertans, because it's looking like he will absolutely pull a Jagmeet Singh and destroy the NDP in Alberta. It says the UCP also mentioned other names usually not considered candidates for the party's Christmas card list. Clemenaga writes, now this is David Clemenaga, a man who, I hope I'm pronouncing his last name properly. He was quoted by the UCP, a man who soldiered on in the NDP trenches through the many battles of that party in good times and bad. The UCP also mentioned other names usually not considered as candidates on their Christmas party list. Clemenaga writes on how Nenshi as NDP leader is seriously underperforming and serious people are starting to notice. Quote, we can't expect Nenshi to ship out, but he does need to shape up. Now, you remember that Naheed Nenshi, when he ran for leadership of the NDP in Alberta, he had an overwhelming support of votes in order to get him in. This is the problem that I said when he ran in Calgary. He always gets the Muslim vote. The Muslim population is quite large in Alberta. However, the riding he is now in Edmonton has only about a 2% Muslim population. So now he's in trouble. He needs that seat to get the Muslim vote, but the Muslim vote in Alberta is not going to win him the premier seat. If this isn't Calgary, Clemenaga believes a starting point might be for Nenshi to listen to some of the party veterans who kept the province's NDP flame burning during the party's long years in the wilderness. Mistake number one, Nenshi doesn't listen. He's the smartest person in any room. We all know that he's pompous. He's a narcissist. He believes he knows better than everybody else. That's going to be their Achilles heel. It says, didn't the NDP know that they were getting by choosing Nenshi to be their leader? No wonder political types are hearing a lot of buyer's remorse starting to emerge in the Alberta NDP ranks. To briefly quote a few words from Evan Scrimshaw, who writes of things political, Nenshi has yet to give anybody a sense of what an NDP Nenshi-led party looks like, he says. What did anybody expect? As mayor, he was a cheerleader, a speaker of lofty words. For some, he was a mascot for the city, a purveyor of progressive sounding sentiment. The NDP did not do their due diligence. And that is a very valid point, that when you look at Nenshi's platform, the guy's never actually talked about what Alberta needs, what he's going to do. He simply just takes shots at Danielle Smith. There's no platform. Nenshi is the master of cliches, the spinner of tales, a masterful practitioner in happy talk. He is the man in the purple because he's not liberal red or conservative blue, and sure as heck isn't NDP orange. What does the Nenshi NDP look like? It's the NDP, the Nenshi Democratic Party. It's what Nenshi wants it to be. And they've even talked about branching away from the federal NDP because of Jagmeet Singh's devastating loss federally. So why are the light bulbs all going on for the NDP universe? Because the Nenshi winning magic the NDP fantasized about getting isn't pulling any rabbits out of the hat. Remember the recent poll done by well-respected Janet Brown that was written about just over a week ago. If there was an election right now in the province, the projected seat count in Alberta legislature would be Premier Danielle Smith's UCP with 61 seats, Naheed Nenshi's with 26. That is devastating to the NDP. And keep in mind, that's without Naheed Nenshi flapping his gums once during a campaign and having no platform. The Nenshi NDP would be walloped. The NDP are in a statistical tie with the UCP in Edmonton. Yes, in Edmonton, the NDP fortress. Nenshi's NDP are behind Smith's UCP by 13 points in Calgary. Please note, this is no surprise to those of us who live in Calgary. And again, I've talked about how when you looked at ridings in the last election, even Tyler Shandro's riding, where he narrowly lost his seat, these were ridings that are large, that have high voter turnout, that usually border one side or the other based on teachers, based on unions, based on new population in Calgary, moving from other provinces that may vote typically more left stream. Those ridings were secured and won by a fraction of a marginal vote. There was no clear majority vote in those ridings. Some of those ridings were done by as little as 100 or 200 votes. So my concern was always, what if the love affair in Calgary still rides for Naheed Nenshi? What does that say when Danielle Smith goes to run against him? Well, apparently he's 13 points behind in Calgary. Those who want the NDP to be one of the ones laying a political beating on Smith's UCP were not paying attention. They didn't do their research. They didn't take into consideration Nenshit today is not the man who came out of nowhere to win Calgary mayor's race 15 years ago, packaged as the image of a new Calgary. We know Nenshi in Calgary. He almost lost to a nobody candidate in 2017. He did not run in 2021, and many thought that was a wise move. He was a good speaker and could use lofty feel-good lingo, and folks were impressed until they caught on to the fact that the words spoke much louder than actions, unless we're talking tax hikes. And again, I've touched on that many times, that Nenshi, like clockwork, institutes the tax hikes in order to promote his spending. Nenshi had an image, a persona, well-styled urban progressives loved. It didn't amount to much, but for some people, to have someone who loved food trucks and bike lanes in the mayor's chair was enough. Still, all of that is a time capsule from years ago. Politics can turn on a dime. You can't write Nenshi off, and there's plenty of time for the NDP to tangle with Smith and company, especially and if Nenshi becomes a member of the legislature. But this scribbler was surprised the NDP glommed on to Nenshi. I knew they were disappointed after losing to Danielle Smith in the last election and wanted someone who could work some magic, but Nenshi? It was as if they liked a singer from long ago and then bought a ticket to the singer's show based on the memory from the past, only to find out the singer did not perform as they expected. If that isn't the best way to put that. This is why Alberta's in good standing right now. This is why I think sovereignty, independence in Alberta is on the rise. I think we're going to see, as this premier meeting has flopped, as everything is continuing to flop in the country, that the touting of independence in Alberta will only grow. The abuse from the federal government is only going to roll out dissatisfaction, we'll say, within Alberta. Alberta citizens are now moving at roughly 5% every month in favor more of independence. Now, if you roll that over in the next 6 months, that's an extra 30% of Alberta jumping on board, which posts the number now up to 70% in favor of Alberta independence. If that trend continues, I'll be here to let you know if that trend continues. Again, join me Monday for the live stream with the I almost said with the UCP, with the APP to hear their claims, to hear people's questions, to hear the answers coming forward, and to hopefully put forward a time where we can talk in the future to answer your questions here on the channel. Let me know what you guys think down below. Do you think Nenshi's done for? Do you think he may turn things around? What do you think this says for Alberta independence? What do you think Nenshi could still crush the idea of Alberta independence? Let me know your thoughts down below if it's your first time here. I hope this video earned your subscription. It's a good video today. Happy news, folks. No more Nen shit. Make sure to hit a comment and a thumbs up on the way out. Share it out on your social media. It helps the video exponentially. It gives us a boost past YouTube's smothering algorithm to say, look, people want to watch this stuff. People are interested in this stuff. And do you not want to feel good on a Friday at least? Speaking of feeling good on a Friday, join me live tonight at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central here on the channel for Friday Night Fringe, our weekly live streaming show where I'm joined by the beautiful Mrs. Fringe as we go through everything that happened this week in politics, everything we know that's coming up in the week ahead, and your Q&A within the greatest YouTube community on this platform. I look forward to talking with you guys each and every week, but I most importantly look forward to hearing what you have to say tonight here on the stream, again, starting at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Central, every week on the channel on Fridays. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and have a great rest of your day. I'll catch you on the next one.